piece of jewelry you design and make has to pass the sweater test. To perform the sweater test, you subject the piece to normal wearing conditions. You ask the questions: does it catch when I rub a piece of fabric over it? Does it scratch skin when it's put on? Can it be deformed by dropping it on the floor or unexpectedly getting it yanked? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, then the piece fails. The sweater test applies regardless of what form of metalworking you do, be it cast, be it sheet metal work, be it wire work, whether you solder or whether you work cold. Cold joined wire work, though, seems to be more prone than other forms of metalworking to failing the sweater test, and that's because there are more ends to deal with, and because wire workers have a tendency to prefer the airy and delicate designs they can get with wire that they can't get with other forms of metalwork. If your piece fails the sweater test, then it doesn't matter how good your design was, or what metal you used, or how much you paid for the stone. Your client is going to look at this piece and say, "This jewelry is junk." And then they're going to go online and they're going to complain. And the next thing you know, they're telling all their friends, and soon the idea that you made jewelry that's junk is spread all over the internet. It is social media suicide. Obviously, this is not what you want. So, how do you pass the sweater test? Well, there are two parts to the equation, and part one is the design. Now, this involves developing an eye for detail and for anticipating how and where your piece might run into problems. Now, this is a very large topic, so I'm going to cover it on an ongoing basis in other videos. Today, I want to focus on part two, which is something that you can start doing right away, and that is work on proper finishing. Now, it may seem strange to start a design series with the finishing, but in actual fact, this is probably the one thing that I stress the most often in all of my classes. So, I want to show you two tools that you can add to your kit today that will help you to either eliminate or minimize the sweater test failures. So, put on my tiara, and we'll head off into the studio. With wireworking becoming more popular, some companies are now offering kits for sale that include basic tools. So things like a pair of flat nose pliers, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, a ring mandrel, and a pair of cutters. And you have to be really careful to check these kits because a lot of the time what's included is a pair of side cutters, not flush cutters, and there is an important difference. Now, in a lot of videos I've watched online, the teachers are using side cutters. Now, side cutting pliers are absolutely not what you want, and the reason why is because they have this beveled edge here, whereas flush cutting pliers have two sides that come together. Now, what happens with side cutters is that when you cut the wire, it always leaves a beveled edge. And it doesn't matter which way you turn the cutters, you get the beveled edge. Whereas with flush cutters, it cuts it off flat. If you turn them the wrong way, you will get a beveled edge with them. So you always have to pay attention to using the flat edge of the cutters. So what do you need to look for when you're dealing with buying a pair of flush cutters? Well, first of all, you have to look for a pair of cutting edges that actually come together and are actually flush. There are some cutters that claim to be flush cutting, but they're not actually. Another thing you want to watch for is points that are aligned. If they are not aligned, there is no hope that you are going to get a flush cut. Check the gauge the cutters are rated for. Some are only rated for 20 gauge wire and others are for as large as 14 gauge. If you cut wire that's too thick, you risk damaging the cutters, and the cutting surfaces can become dull or misaligned, and the joint holding the pliers can break. I recommend staying under 16 gauge. Even with flush cutters, you'll get a little bit of a bevel that will have to be filed off. A lot of people will tell you when you're first starting out that you shouldn't spend a lot of money on tools, and I agree with a caveat. You should always buy the best quality tools you can afford, for the simple reason that better quality tools last longer. They don't wear out as fast. You also, in a lot of cases, perform better and faster, and so your results will be better as well. They also tend to be ergonomically designed so that if you have problems with your hands through arthritis or carpal tunnel syndrome, you'll be able to work longer and better. So start with what you can afford, save your money, and trade up as soon as you can. Because you're still going to deal with bevels, you're going to need the other tool I want to talk to you about, which is a file. Now, exposed ends that aren't tucked in have to be filed, even with a flush cutter. It's a little step that you can add that adds enormously to how professional your finished piece looks. Now, the process is actually really simple. You just take the end of your wire and rub it very quickly against a number 2 or a number 4 file. Even just doing a couple of passes, you'll see the difference right away between the filed and the unfiled end. Files come in a variety of coarseness, and the general rule of thumb is that the higher the number, the finer the cut of the file. I recommend buying a flat file first because you can just set it on your work surface and rub your wire against it as needed. Contenti has a great PDF on their website that details all the different shapes and sizes of files and what they're used for. I'll include the link at the end of this video so you can download your own copy. Basically, you should get into the habit of filing your ends. If in doubt, file them. So let's recap. Every piece you make has to stand up to a normal wear and tear. It has to pass the sweater test. You can achieve this through a combination of design and proper finishing. 2 tools you can add to your kit today to help you with finishing are a pair of flush cutters and a jeweler's file. Always buy the best tools you can afford. Better quality tools help you get better results. And if you have problems with your hands, they'll help you work longer and with less strain. In the long run, it saves you money because you don't have to replace them as often. When you're buying flush cutters, look for cutting surfaces that actually line up with each other and points that are actually pointy. If you're buying a pre-packaged toolkit, make sure you're getting true flush cutters, not the side cutters, because flush cutters give you cleaner ends that need less filing. When buying jeweler's files, the higher the number, the finer the cut. A number 2 or a number 4 is a good starter file, but you can also use an emery board when you're first starting out. You don't need to buy the expensive tools right off the bat. So here's your homework for today. Go back and check your last 10 pieces. Check the ends and make sure there are no bevel cuts. If there are, trim them off with the flush cutting pliers and file the ends. Doing the sweater test shows pride of workmanship. And it's something that people recognize because it stands out. It's something that paying attention to helps you to build confidence. And self-confidence is one of the things that feeds creativity. And creativity is what this journey is all about. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. If you'd like to develop an eye for detail, follow my board on Pinterest. It's called The Tao of Wire, An Eye for Details. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. And if you'd like to know when new videos are available, please subscribe. You can do that through my website at thetaoofwire.com. And you can also look at my Facebook page, Vimeo channel, or YouTube channel. If you had an aha moment with this video today, please consider hitting the tip jar.